Hello, KinYooBiCon, and welcome to Why Gen 5 Isn't Pokemon, or Gen 1, a critique of the creatures introduced in the 5th generation of Pokemon games. My name is Max, and I'm here on behalf of the Foundation for the Preservation of Gen 1 Pokemon. You can follow me on Twitter at 5thGen, not PKMN, and I'm here to tell you about how we need to make Pokemon great again. So in order to start this panel, the first thing you need to do is find out how much you know about Pokemon. So I'm going to show you a series of images, and you will respond in the chat if it is a Pokemon or not. Now, I will not be able to see the chat as I am doing this panel several days before you, but let it be known, I'll know if you're wrong. So this is the first thing. Is this a Pokemon? Yes, it is in fact Machamp. Good job, everybody who said yes. If you didn't say yes, you were wrong. Next up, is this a Pokemon? We have so much work to do here tonight, folks. This is not a Pokemon. This is a Girder Thing. We call it Girder Thing because this is an all-ages panel, so we can't swear by using words like Conkeldurr or I'm sorry I said that. Josh, feel free to mute this section if you'd like. I understand that no swearing is good. Anyway, is this Pokemon? So, Ferret is a Pokemon, yes. But I understand we're in the state of California. It is illegal to own Ferrets here. So if you got this wrong, I would understand. It's a weird law, but, we don't want them to become invasive in our natural environment like, cats are. So no Ferrets in California. Next up, is this a Pokemon? Now, this is actually Shrimp Stompora, who is going to be a Pokemon soon. My uncle Jim Tendo told me that Shrimp Stompora is announced for Gen 9. Have I been saying that since Gen 7? Yes. Does that make me wrong? Yes. But we're going to go with it anyway. And finally, is this a Pokemon? No, that is Emboar, who is Gen 5, not a Pokemon. So, based on how well all of you have done, all I can really say is we have a lot of work to do. We're going to have to do some research here. Now, researching Gen 5 is incredibly dangerous. This diamond, you've probably seen it on the side of trucks. It's used to tell us how dangerous the substance in the trucks is. So, we're going to take this diamond and apply it to Gen 5 to know if OSHA would even let us research it. Because we want to know if the Occupational Safety and Health Administration thinks that this is safe to do. Because if it's not, we shouldn't do it. So, the first part of the diamond is red. That's a fire risk. And, it's pretty flammable. If you've seen the flame wars over Gen 5, it's not good. Really, really high flame risk here. Blue represents how toxic something is, and the Gen 5 fan base is incredibly toxic. I mean, have you seen, they're so mean to me online. It's unreal. So 5 on toxic. I need to note, these are scales of 0 to 4, so 5 is above and beyond. This is some radically dangerous stuff. Next up is yellow. Yellow measures how reactive or explosive something is. In the instance of Pokemon, that would measure how many new versions of Explosion were introduced. And unlike those numbers, we want this as high as possible, because Explosion is the most Chad move in all of Pokemon. And unfortunately, Gen 5 gets a 0 on that. So 550, really, really dangerous stuff we're dealing with. And then finally, the white sector of the diamond represents special properties. Is what we're dealing with acidic? Is it a strong oxidizer? Is it likely to start the 10th crusade for Constantinople? We need to know these things. And with such a rating, we can only say that this is not safe. No one should be looking into Gen 5. It doesn't matter how many helmets you are wearing and how many reflector vests. Gen 5 is not safe for you to interact with. So, we do have to say, when researching, just don't do it. Best advice. But yeah, I don't take that advice. So I have some protection. It's beyond OSHA. It's much safer. It is, of course, nostalgia goggles, which will keep me safe and allow me to see Gen 5 for what it truly is, an aberration of my and only my childhood. Another thing you can do if you can't, surgically attach your nostalgia goggles, which I understand it's an expensive process, and, with these student loan debts, I get why you wouldn't want to, solder a SNES controller to your forehead. So the budget approach, which is also what we used, was using a word replacer and an internet browser. So Trubbish is no longer a Pokemon; it's an abomination, and now it's safe for us to view because it's not lying to us about what it is. It's more wholesome almost. It's still awful, and I hate it, but at least it's not claiming to be a Pokemon. So we have Trubbish, the abomination, Kling Klang, the dumpster fire, and of course the most offensive of them all, Keldeo the Brony, which, like, why? Why? We didn't ask for this, but they gave it to us anyway, and I'm very upset. Anyway, so even this is even with the word replacer, Keldeo from Bulbapedia, the Brony driven encyclopedia, just, it doesn't work. We can't. So now that we've gone over how you can, look at Gen 5, we're going to go over the combat mechanics of Pokemon and what each generation has brought to the table. So we can really show you that Gen 5 is just not up to snuff. So the first generation of Pokemon invented the concept of combat. Before Pokemon Red Blue came out, people didn't even have differences to settle. They didn't have to use words because there weren't any. Everybody always wanted a hot dog for lunch and pasta for dinner, and that's how life went, and it was perfect. And then Gen 1 came out, and everyone's like, wait, we can fight? That sounds great! And then they did. And Red and Blue became so, tied to the concept of conflict that even now, with things like WW2K18 Raw, we have Cookie Monster versus Elmo, because that's the closest we have to Red versus Blue version in the real world. I mean, the political parties are Red and Blue. The other thing, Fire and Water, Red and Blue, inspired by Pokemon. I have to note that. Before Gen 1, type advantages, Fire and Water fought to a draw. That's just how it worked. So Gen 1 came out, it declared mission accomplished, and it was like, we've done so much. We've solved everything. And then they thought, wait, what if we just invaded more countries? And we got Gen 2. Gen 2 is the Brood War to Gen 1 StarCraft. It introduced and refined a lot of the mechanics from Gen 1 while introducing new mechanics to really spice up the meta. So we started getting things like weather effects, entry hazards, and held items, which really helped, change how Pokemon were used in combat. And probably the biggest thing we got was the first stat retcon, which was the special split, where suddenly Pokemon like Gyarados, who were very formidable, became less formidable. And then, of course, there were the new types in Dark and Steel. So overall, Gen 2 really went a long way in developing Pokemon as a competitive beast. And then Gen 3 showed up and gave every child with OCD a crippling obsession. With the introduction of natures, abilities, and EVs, Pokemon went from, I caught this Kangaskhan and it's good because I leveled it up, to, I caught this Kangaskhan and it's good because I bred 80,000 other Kangaskhan's and got the 1 in 25 nature, plus 1 in 2 ability, plus 1 in way too many optimal stat spreads to get the Kangaskhan I needed. It's just, it became so much work. But now our Pokemon were individuals and different from each other. And that was nice, right? That was nice. Gen 4 came out, and Gen 4 did the next big stat change, which was, of course, the physical special split. For those of you who are unfamiliar, a concept that is shocking to me still, in Gens 1 through 3, all water moves were special. All fire moves were special. All ghost moves were physical, because, that makes sense. But when Gen 4 came out, they realized they could just be like, oh, what if we just had Shadow Ball be special, but Lick stayed physical? Or what if we actually made Waterfall be worth something by having it be a physical move instead of a special move? So Gen 4 did the physical special split, which was the second most defining meta change that Gen 4 introduced. I know what you're saying. Max, that's a massive change. What could have possibly had a larger effect than the physical special split? And that answer is astonishingly Stealth Rocks. A move that single-handedly knocked several types of Pokemon out of the OU meta. Entire elemental types of Pokemon, which Pinsir's pretty good, but it's weak to Stealth Rock, so you can't use it anymore. And that's just... to have a move that centralizes the meta at that level is pretty toxic. So it only makes sense that with such an unnecessarily bad change, Gen 5 would come around and do something to fix it. But for some reason, this Gen 5 slide is empty. No matter how many times I hit reveal animation, there's nothing here. Did Gen 5 not contribute anything meaningful to combat mechanics in Pokemon? That couldn't be true. Oh, I guess we're on Gen 6. Gen 5 sucks. Not even Pokemon. Gen 6 introduced Digivolving. Digimon did it first, but Pokemon did it better. Gen 7 introduced Smash Balls in the form of Z moves, which was their way of trying to make Mega Forms less broken. And then Gen 8 introduced making Pokemon big. Basically, the last 3 generations have been trying to figure out some way to let you do Super Saiyan Pokemon, but aren't really sure how to do it right yet. They're interesting mechanics, but they're very gimmicky in that they only appear in the generation they are introduced, which is a bummer because, Mega Charizard X and Y was a really cool thing where they took a Pokemon and then just gave us diverging, optimized paths for it. And we're not really getting that as much now, which kind of sucks, but that's fine. Speaking of diverging optimized paths, we need to talk about min-maxing. Now, if you're not familiar, min-maxing is the concept of, optimizing something in the smallest way possible. Basically, if you have, $10, you just... I don't know. It's hard to explain. I don't have to explain. What am I doing? I have a PowerPoint. I don't need to use words. I can use images. Here we have Machamp, and we have Girder Thing. I don't know why they call it Girder Thing. It's holding concrete columns. That's just how wrong Gen 5 is, but it's called Girder Thing. Now, Machamp is a physically powerful... Machamp has really high attack, moderate bulk, poor special attack, and poor speed. So if you wanted to take Machamp's stats and not increase the base total, but optimize them, what you would do is decrease his special attack because he doesn't use it, decrease his speed because it's already bad, and use those changes to increase his attack and bulk. And that is what they did with Girder Thing. They increased Machamp's attack by 10, they increased his defense and HP by 15, while reducing his special attack and speed by 10 and special defense by 20. Ultimately, what this did was it knocked Machamp out of competitive usage because at this point there was no reason to run it instead of Girder Thing, because Girder Thing was just a more optimized version of Machamp given the same tools Machamp had. This is min-maxing. And if you look through Gen 5, there are a lot of instances of them doing this with existing Pokemon. You have the same thing happening with Golem or Stantler or many other options. And even worse, they did speed creep. Now, in Pokemon, base stats are generally divisible by 5. There are instances where they're not, but by and large, base stats are multiples of 5. Now, the difference between a 95 attack and a 96 attack base stat is not substantial. It is very unlikely to be the make or break in knocking out a Pokemon. That is not true between the difference of 100 base speed and 101 base speed, because unlike other stats, speed is a winner-take-all situation in Pokemon. So in Gen 5, they introduced a lot of Pokemon that had 101 base speed compared to all of these older Gen 1 Pokemon that had 100 base speed. A really good way to make a Pokemon better than another Pokemon is to give it one more speed, because it is almost always going to win the fight, all other things being the same. This is something that never happened before at all. So that kind of leads us into power creep. Now, I know I went over, we have like these min-max versions of existing Pokemon, but there are also min-max versions of non-existing Pokemon, just out there. We have Volcarona, which was argued to be Gen 5's solution to Stealth Rocks, i.e. make a Pokemon so broken that you need to run Stealth Rocks to get rid of it. So instead of, fixing Stealth Rocks, they just went, what if we just made something so good you needed Stealth Rocks? Over-centralize the meta around it even more. So Volcarona has 135 special attack for some reason. Next we have Excadrill, which honestly looks like what would happen if you just took a Sandslash and wrapped it up in like one of those tire spike traps. And I don't really know why you do that. I could still take it out with my old Subaru Outback, but it would take out my wheels. And that's really frustrating to know that there's a Pokemon that I could take out with a 2003 LL Bean Edition Subaru Outback that has an attack stat higher than Dragonite. I don't understand what aspect of a Sandslash surrounded in car tire trap making it higher attack than Dragonite, but I could still take it out with my car, and that's pretty upsetting. Also, its speed stat is 88. That's not a good number. And finally, we have Darmanitan, whose differential between its attack stat and special attack stat is 110. The only Pokemon with a larger differential between its attack and special attack is Mega Beedrill, who is specifically designed to try to optimize Beedrill with the stats provided to it. Darmanitan is stronger than a Sandslash covered in a tire trap. It is faster than a Sandslash covered in a tire trap. It's not really bulkier, but that doesn't really matter because it is stronger and faster. And in Pokemon, that's all that really matters. The next thing Gen 5 did that really messed with the meta was introduce way too many dragon types. Now, in Pokemon, there aren't a lot of historically, there were not a lot of dragon-type Pokemon. And that made sense because dragon-type were, by and large, very powerful Pokemon. So, if you look at the percentage of OU tier Pokemon with dragon typing, and you see in Gens 3 and 4, it's between 6 and 8%, that makes sense. There were 17 types at the time, so between 6 and 8% representation is about what you would expect from a type, all things being equal. All things aren't equal, dragons are very good, and there aren't a lot of them. So most dragons that existed were in the OU tier. Gen 5 went, what if dragons were still really good, but also there were a lot of them? So that's what they did. And suddenly the percentage of Smogon OU tier Pokemon with dragon typing jumped from 6 to 14%, which is a big change. So big that Gen 6 had to retcon the whole problem by introducing Mike Pence's least favorite type of Pokemon, fairies. Anyway, let's talk about aesthetics, because Gen 5 Pokemon are not pretty looking. Now here we have some Gen 1 Pokemon and their Gen 5 counterparts. That was a big thing in Gen 5, was taking old Pokemon, primarily Gen 1 Pokemon, and doing new exciting designs for them. So in this case, we have Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Throh, and Sock. Now, Hitmonchan is based off of noted Japanese martial artist Jackie Chan, who gives good lessons to children. He fights demons and dragons. He's great stunts in films. Overall, amazing pick for a fighting type Pokemon inspiration in Gen 1. Hitmonlee is based on Bruce Lee, seen here beating up terribly dated internet meme Chuck Norris. Unfortunately, Chuck Norris is still alive, Bruce Lee is not. If I could make a change there, I would, but I am just one man and do not have a genie. If any of you have genies, I would recommend that wish. I think it'd be a great one. But overall, just two really good picks. We did hold a poll, though. We did ask who your favorite Jackie Chan Adventures character is. And the idea of this question was, who should have been the Gen 1 representation for fighting? And unfortunately, Bruce Lee didn't win that poll. He tied in third with Jade. So we shouldn't have gotten Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. We should have gotten Hitmonchan and Hitmonuncle, as Uncle did run away with the poll. But, you can only do so much. I think Hitmonuncle would be a great addition later on. He could be a special attacking fighting type. He could use Umo Gregre Fighty Cao. I think it'd just be like a special fighting a type attack that hit Ghost. I'm down. It'd be good. Bring Hitmonuncle into Pokemon. Not sure why it hasn't been introduced yet. Uncle Jim Tendo, get on it. So, anyway, great overall, though. Still not complaining about Bruce Lee. Good second pick after Jackie Chan, since Uncle was, I don't know, maybe contract rates were high. Who knows? So let's compare these picks to what Gen 5 did, which was, of course, introduce Sock, that thing you keep on your feet, and Throw, that thing you do when you're having a tantrum. Not sure why they thought those were great inspirations, but they were. Anyway, I think at this point we have to address the elephant in the room, or more accurately, the giant warthog, and complain about the Gen 5 starter choice, which is, of course, Emboar. Sorry, I always think I'm going to fix this slideshow, and I never get around to it. This is Hariyama. Hariyama is a Gen 3 Pokemon that is based on a sumo wrestler. I'm sure there are no other Pokemon based on sumo wrestlers, so I'm just going to pull up, the firefighting starter, Emboar. Oh, that was my mistake. Sorry, I said I was going to pull up a firefighting starter. I didn't realize I was just going to pull up Blaziken. But, there can't be that many firefighting starters. There are only 5 Gen... Okay, so now we have... I don't even remember his name. It's how little I care. Another firefighting... It's okay. We got to be close. Next slide for sure is going to be Emboar. Next slide for sure was not Emboar. Next slide for sure, though, Emboar. Okay. So we got Gen 1, we got a fire flying, then we got a fire, and then we got 3 firefightings in a row, which is too many firefightings in a row. Gen 5 really slipped up on giving us a Pokemon that was a repeat of a repeat typing for a starter, something they hadn't really done yet. And then it's based on the same design of Pokemon they've already done. Emboar is just, it's a copy of a copy of a copy. It's uninspired. The only thing that's more uninspired from Gen 5 than Emboar is the badges. Now, here we have Gary flaunting some badges he purchased off of Etsy, I presume. He's got the, orange Liberty Bell badge from when he beat up Ben Franklin. He's got the silver quill badge from when he defeated John Hancock in hand-to-hand combat. He's got the weighted companion cube badge from when he beat Gladys. I don't know where he got these, and I don't know who decided this was the right animation take to have, but lo and behold, this is where we are in our reality. These are the real Gen 1 badges, though, and it's amazing design. The boulder badge is a boulder. The water badge is a water. The earth badge is an earth. It's just perfect design. And this is in comparison to the Gen 5 badges, where, the pig, it's there. The dog lets you use recover out of battle for some reason. The dragon is a flamethrower TM. I don't really understand what Gen 5 was going with. Oh, sorry, my friend just told me that these are actually the Jackie Chan Adventures talismans. That makes sense. They actually looked pretty cool. I didn't like complaining about them. So here we have the Gen 5 badges. We've got the sun to let the sun shine in, the heart because, that's what Pokemon's about. It's about courage and heart. And then we've got the cross because they were just really trying to win over Mike Pence at the time. And these are the Digimon badge things. I'm sure eventually the next slide will be the Gen 5. The next slide is not the Gen 5 badges. The next slide will be this is also not the Gen 5 badges. At least one of them's real currency. Anyway, here are the Gen 5 badges. This looks like my dad's used toothpick collection, if I'm going to be honest with you. We have a broken toothpick. We have the Harry Potter fanfic toothpick. We have John Hancock's toothpick. This is lame. It's awful. I mean, there are more awful things like this. So, Gen 5 has a problem with racism, but I think before I tackle that, I have to go over that Pokemon has historically had a problem with racism. Here's the original art for Jinx. They did have to update it. There's a lot of, Japanese cultural stuff going on behind here. But the best way to really summarize it is to just look at Mr. Popo and realize this is kind of always how Japan has drawn black people. And a lot of the reason behind that is Japan's media diet, once they, started industrializing, they got mostly American movies and shows and cartoons. And most American movies and shows and cartoons back in that era were very minstrelly and racist. And because of that, Japan's interpretation of black people was the white Americans' exaggerated, mocking interpretation of black people. So because of that, Japan has problems with representing people who aren't Japanese. So, big faux pas there. If you look at any anime, you're going to notice this is very common. It's unfortunate. Not sliding it under the rug, but moving on. Gen 3 introduced Ludicolo, which someone tried to convince me is actually just a pineapple kappa. And sure, it is a pineapple, but it's also doing dances and wearing a sombrero. And its second evolutionary form is Lombre, which is shockingly close to Ombre, and Ludicolo, has that same kind of flavor to it. So, this is very clearly a Mexican Pokemon. And that becomes a problem when you look at which Pokemon learn Thief by level up in Gen 3. It is Poochyena, Lombre, and Kecleon. That's right. The Pokemon they have inspired after a Mexican is one of only 3 Pokemon to learn Thief in Gen 3. Not only that, its media interpretations, it is almost exclusively working in the service sector as a waiter of some sort, which is, again, just continuing those racist vibes. Finally, we have Gen 5 here. So finally, we're at Gen 5. Here is Lilligant. Lilligant has the disposition and appearance of a antebellum southern belle. She's got the big hoop skirt, the big floral hat, white version exclusive Pokemon. Would you care to guess what the black version exclusive Pokemon is? You can't keep doing this. This was 2011. This is way too late to think this is a good joke. Anyway, here's Lenora, and I mean, for Japanese standards, she doesn't look that bad, but that's because this is the American, modified version of her sprite. This is what Lenora looks like originally, which is very, moving on. Gen 5 hasn't only been debunked by us, but by Nintendo more generally. So let's see how Nintendo has themselves dunked on the generation that doesn't exist. And I think the first way we should do that is look at Super Smash Brothers. The gang's all here, as they say. So by that measure, if the gang isn't there, they aren't real gang members. So in Super Smash Brothers, we have Pikachu, Jigglypuff, Pichu, Mewtwo, Lucario, Squirtle, Ivysaur, Charizard, Greninja, and Incineroar as playable characters. Super Smash Brothers did come out before Gen 8, so we don't have to look at like Gen 8 representation here. But if you look, Gen 1, criminally underrepresented, only 6 of 10. Gen 2's got 1, Gen 4's got 1, and 6 and 7 each have 1. 3 and 5 notably absent. Now, to be fair, Gen 3 was invited. They were going to release Groudon, but Groudon did get set loose and has since then inflicted California with a massive drought. So, big oops there. But that does go to show, Gen 5, by Super Smash Bros. Standards, not Pokemon. Next up, we have Pokemon Unite. Pokemon Unite is often criticized for having a pretty basic map layout, which, I mean, rude. I think it's fine. It's a 10-minute MOBA. What do you expect? But either way, that map is way more interesting than whatever's going on here with the Gen 5 overworld map. That's pretty pathetic. If you're losing to a 10-minute MOBA that's available on MOBA, a 10-minute MOBA available on mobile, you're not on the cutting edge. Then there's the roster of Pokemon Unite. This is missing a few released Pokemon, Glaceon, Tyranitar, Buzzwole, but I made this slide a while ago and I'm too lazy to update it, so that's not my problem. So if you look at the representation here, again, Kanto criminally underrated, not nearly enough Kanto Pokemon in Unite. But the only Unova Pokemon available is the Tea Cake Crustle. And unfortunately for Crustle, is the only Pokemon available is Crustle. Now, I can think of a lot of Pokemon they should add before they add more Unova Pokemon. 151 to be precise. They're all good boys. I personally unironically want Hypno in there, but that's a weird take. Anyway, if you look at the competitive usage statistics for Pokemon Unite, top Pokemon Unite players towards the end of May, you'll notice that Crustle is actually the only one that did not see play among the top 100 players in Unite over the course of mid-April to mid-May. Every other Pokemon got at least some level of usage. So, am I saying Unite doesn't think Crustle is a Pokemon? Yes, I am. And who am I to say that? Oh, just a content specialist on Pokemon Unite who gets paid to have takes about Pokemon. Therefore, Pokemon Black-White is not Pokemon. Checkmate atheists. I'm an expert. I did it. We've solved it. Here's the new official Pokemon lore. Here it is. We went on vacation for a while between Gen 4 and 6, but we're back and things are moving. Now, I've found through my research, I'm not the only one who knows this, but so few people have revealed that Gen 5 isn't Pokemon, and we need to figure out why that is. Who is keeping us silent? It's the auto industry. If you look at pedestrian fatalities in the US by year from, getting hit by cars, you'll notice there's a pivot around 2010 where they start going up, which is conveniently along the lines of when Pokemon Black-White released. What was a small increase that could have been explained through statistical noise became a trend. And by the end of the 2010s, we were seeing more people die from vehicular incidents, more pedestrians dying from vehicular incidents than we were seeing in 1990. Why is that? Is it because trucks have gotten unreasonably large so you could line up several small children in front of them and just hit 10 kids without realizing it? Yeah, it is. But why is that? It's because Game Freak met with Big Auto and told them, we need you to make the trucks bigger so we can have our Nintendo employees go out and hit all of the people who say Gen 5 isn't Pokemon. And that's why I am like almost hit by a car every other day. Has nothing to do with the fact that motorists are recklessly irresponsible and I like crossing the street in inconvenient places. No, this is Game Freak trying to take me out, to silence me, to stop this panel from happening. Anyway, here's a review of Gen 8. So Pokemon Sword Shield, more like Pokemon Sword Art Online and Rising of the Shield Hero. 2 anime I don't like, which is fine because I don't like Gen 8 either, so that works pretty well. So first let's go over the good things about Gen 8. Yamper is adorable. Absolutely love Yamper. If Gen 8 was just 100 Yampers, it would be the best Pokemon game ever made. I mean, look at that thing. It is the cutest thing ever designed, and I'm in love. So that's the good. Starting with the bad. We have another firefighting type. I mean, look, this is a firefighting type. It knows it's all about kicking. Kicking is definitely a fighting thing you do. Mega Kick, it's a fighting move. If you don't trust me, just use it on a ghost type Pokemon. It won't affect the ghost. Why is that? Because it's fighting. And like, this is such bad design. I know I ragged on Emboar, but like we're gonna go back. Gen 1, their fire starter's a dragon. Gen 2's is based on a volcano. It's literally the eruption Pokemon. Gen 3 is chicken. Like, I mean, bad inspiration, but whatever. Gen 4 gave us Harambe. Gen 5, I mean, they did it before, but sumo wrestling's pretty cool. Gen 6 gave us an internet browser. Gen 7 gave us the wrestling heel. And Gen 8 gave us the third most unwarranted, like, civil disobedience act in the history of the world. This is what it's based off of, just soccer hooligans. The second most unwarranted act of civil disobedience was, of course, the people who were upset about there being no Szechuan sauce. And the first most unnecessary act of civil disobedience was the January 6th coup attempt. Anyway, Gen 9, though, they're fixing it as they're bringing Steve Irwin into the fold, and I'm really excited for that. Next thing, I wanted more Alolan forms that I wanted. I wanted Alolan Typhlosion. I wanted Negative Ferret. I wanted Millennial Xatu. But we didn't get that. We got a new Darmanitan. And you know how I feel about Darmanitan. I don't like it. And this one I don't like more. It seems racist. I'm pretty sure it is. So, what does this... Why is this a bigger problem, though? Like, Max, I get it. You got a Galar form of a Pokemon you didn't like. No, I got a Galar form of a Gen 5. That's a problem. Now, Gen 1 has 151 Pokemon. Gen 5 has 155. But they aren't Pokemon. Remember, they're not. We've established this. They're imaginary. Now, we have to go over the rules of like what an imaginary number is. Because each Gen 5 Pokemon, it has an I in it. So I to the 0th power is 1. I to the 1st power is I. And I squared is -1. So when you take a Pokemon and you make a regional variant of it, you're squaring it. So that means that when you take a Galar Pokemon, when you take a Gen 5 Pokemon and you create a Galar form of it, you're creating a negative Pokemon. And suddenly Gorbis is Thanos snapped out of Pokemon lore. We can't have this. This is illegal. So with that, knowing the existential threat that Gen 8 has created, we can only help but give it an Emboar out of 10, not Pokemon. Anyway, we have some demands for Gen 9. With Gen 8 being so poorly, I think Nintendo, and the fact that Nintendo is yet to take me out with a lifted truck, I think they can't help but listen to my demands. So first demand, its feet better stay on the ground. I don't remember what this one's called. It's very cute. But if it becomes bipedal, I'm going to riot. And I'm going to create the new first most unnecessary attempt at civil disobedience. The coup will be nothing compared to my wrath. Demand 2. Stop messing with tackle. I I thought Tackle was pretty fine initially, a 35 power, 95% accuracy move. I don't know, 40 power and 95 was also fine. But just, they kept changing it. It's hard for me to keep track of what Tackle's doing anymore. I don't like that. It's annoying. Demand 3. Now, we've had Hitmonchan. We've had Hitmonlee. Based on two of the greatest martial artists throughout history. In Gen 2, they gave us Hitmontop, based off of the third greatest martial artist in history, the Beyblade. So it only stands to reason, in Gen 9, they give us the fourth and final member of the Hitmon family line, based off of what else but a lobster. That's right, bring me Shrimp Stompora. Demand 4. Now, people say there are a lot of problems with Gen 1. They go over, like, there's this big list. I'm not going to read it for you because that's no one wants to listen to me read a list. They want to hear me read a script I don't have in front of me. But lo and behold, there are a lot of problems that people have with Gen 1. One of the big problems is that is the Gen 1 miss and speed determining crits. And honestly, that's great. I want that back. The fact that Pokemon has become so optimized that, like, because of 100% accuracy moves, bring back the Gen 1 miss. Bring back the 1 in 256 chance your move fails, even if it's 100% accuracy. That, it keeps the game dynamic and interesting in a way that it isn't as much anymore. Next, speed is, as we've been over previously, it's a winner-take-all stat. Having 200 in speed means nothing compared to the 50 your opponent has. That is 150 wasted stat. So in Gen 1, the higher your speed was, the higher your critical hit chance was. So you don't necessarily need to bring back like that whole algorithm because Persian was hitting at like a 25% crit chance, which was pretty high. But if you just brought back any level of speed determining crit, it would make speed a more interesting stat and something worth investing in besides the bare minimum. And it would really like jazz up the meta. And, crits are inherently random. And I think that just makes everything more fun. Demand I, just get rid of Gen 5. Just Thanos snap it out. I want my Uncle Jim Tendo to have to come to your house and manually install a patch on your Pokemon Alpha Sapphire that removes all Gen 5 from it. Like that's what we really need going on. Demand 6, bring back Missing No. I really liked Missing No. It's pretty fun. Pokemon number 0, he is cool. He knew Sky Attack, Water Gun. Had like base physical attack 130. Great Pokemon. Gave me infinite rare candies. Never glitched my game personally, but that's, if he glitched yours, that's not my problem. Bring back Missing No. Demand 7, I want a Rocket Edition. Now, in Gen 1, there's a guy who asks you if you would like to join Team Rocket. And they don't let you. They don't even give you the option, which is rude because I would love to join Team Rocket. Jesse and James seem like great people. I could hang out with them. We could do crime together to lower property value. So, really, really solve the housing affordability crisis. That's what I want to do. I want to join Team Rocket and solve the housing affordability crisis by committing crimes. It's my dream. Demand 8, if that doesn't work, just give us the N64 Classic. I'm upset you guys stopped doing these. I really like the Classic Edition consoles. They're what inspired me to finally sell my NES and SNES. Specifically, though, with the N64 Classic, it needs to include Pokemon Stadium 2. And then how, like, they were 20 games, like the Super Nintendo Classic was 20 games plus bonus Star Fox 2 never been released. For the N64 Classic, you do Pokemon Stadium 2. Bonus comes with Pokemon Crystal. So you can catch and train your own Pokemon and use them in Pokemon Stadium 2. It'll be great. Demand 9, I want more explosions. There have been so few iterations of Explosion. The only one that's been introduced since Gen 1 is Misty Explosion, and its power is only 100. That's sad and wrong. I want new ones. You can give me a poison type. You can call it Overdose, and like it'll be base power 200 and toxic the enemy. You could give me ice. It'll be a physical move. Shatter. You could give me fire. It'll just be just retype explosion to be fire type. Or you could give us an electric type explosion and call it Pacific Gas and Electric, and it'll burn my dad's house down. Anyway, Demand 10, reboot Jackie Chan Adventures. I'm not sure why you haven't done that, Nintendo, but you really need to get on it. Anyway, that's my panel. I would like to thank Smogon for not referring to Emboar as Pokemon, Grimer for being adorable, Red Lobster for making Shrimp Stompor their mascot, Olive Garden for having all-you-can-eat soup, salad, and breadsticks for only $5.99 when you're here, your family, and of course John Rogers, Dwayne Capezzi, and Jeff Klein for inventing Jackie Chan Adventures, the greatest Japanese anime to ever grace our lives. You can follow me on Twitter at 5thGen, not PKMN. On YouTube, I'm 5thGen Isn't Pokemon, where we upload these panels periodically. I'm also on Twitch at 5thGen Isn't Pokemon. So, KinYooBiCon, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you all on Sunday, where I will be doing another panel. Yes. Goodbye forever.